Coach, what would you say from when you got here to now has impressed you or made you most proud about this defense?
I think the chemistry between the guys and the coaching staff. I think you can really see that when the guys come up and hang out in their off time, or they're doing extra, they're doing all those little things to be around to make themselves really good players. And then Coach has, again, family nights on Monday where you just see, it's the first time you did it, it was just the players, and now all of a sudden you're seeing not only the coaches' families, but there's more players bringing their girlfriends, significant others, their kids around. You know what I mean? So all of that ties into when those guys go take the grass, right? You see them really live and in the moment, jumping around. They're cheering for each other. I mean, when James Williams, who came from the scout team, goes in there and makes a play, everybody was, man, it was the stadium erupted, you know what I mean? And on the sidelines, they couldn't be more happier for James. So I think the chemistry that those guys are building, it really gets to shine on the grass when they're cheering for each other,
How much does it help a roster when there's an example like James of a guy who's put in the work and it shows you put in the work, you can get that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, what coach doesn't preach chemistry and family and all that stuff like that, right? But then you see how the plans come into play and come into light. Again, that's a perfect story. Not one person knew about James. Now we did. We knew his talent. And it just, again, it goes to show you, Coach Rule's down there working with the scout team, the demonstration team, and here James is balling his butt off, right? So he comes to me and T. Knight's like, hey, man, we got to get this guy on the field. T. Knight goes and Coop suggested a package. T. Knight's like, yeah, we can put him in this position to just let him turn him loose. We get together, we come up with the package and the coverage and stuff like that, and then we let them go play. And sure enough, it happens. So now all those other guys in that room, in that demonstration team, they're going like crazy because they know that could happen to them next. And again, it all goes back to the chemistry of the guys, and validating the work that they're putting in. It's one thing to say work hard because you will. It's another thing to be like, hey, work hard because that just happened right now. So.
How impactful has Ty Robinson been this year for you guys, even if he's not the guy making the play at the end?
Yeah, though, I mean, those D linemen, like I said, we got some of the best ones in the country. I've felt like that, and the neat thing is that they're putting it on the grass. The disruption that him and Nash are doing in there, all of them really. I mean, now you got Jamari down in there moving in and stuff. The disruption that they're causing, it's easy to see them make a sack and it's easy to see them make a tackle for a loss, but what you don't see are those plays where they're taking up two guys and now the linebacker or the safety runs through a hole and hits it for a tackle for a loss. It's because those guys are doing extra, So you can't play as good of run defense as we're playing without it starting up front with those guys and doing the work that nobody sees until you watch the film.
You played Purdue last year. How much has their personnel changed? Just the coaching changed. Obviously, the schemes have changed, but have they changed a lot of personnel from what?
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys back and there's some new guys. I mean, the quarterback's new. Running backs are the same. I know they moved. I think it was number 3 last year. He was kind of like a slot wide receiver guy. Put him in the backfield. Now he's strictly a running back. So. They have good personnel. I mean, the number 4, the wide receiver, is dynamic. They got 2 tailbacks that I think are going to be some of the best we played. Quarterback, obviously, he's a tremendous athlete, and you see when he gets a chance to get in a rhythm and throw the ball distributed, he's really talented. So we got to make sure that we know what we're doing and we know how we want to do it, and then turn those guys loose to let them go play.
When people hear the phrase air raid, a lot of times I think of Mike Leach, like Mike Leach, and the way that maybe he threw the ball. Is that true of this team, or has the air raid evolved in the last 5, 6, 7 years into something more expansive?
I think it's just per offensive coordinator per guy. You know what I mean? It's just the same thing like with the Rocky Long Tree. You see all the guys you took at places, and you see the different variations that their spins on it. I think it's the same way. You can see some of the same concepts from that air raid offense, but then you see the differences. You see the run game. I think he was the OC back in the day when we were at Arizona State, and I remember being true like air raid. You know what I mean? And now you see a little more emphasis on the run game, and they're doing a nice job with their stretch game, their counter game, sniping the tight ends back across and stuff. So I think he's putting his spin on it, as he goes and gets more comfortable with it. So it's making it hard to defend, yeah.
Talking about guys like James Williams earlier, you've had some position changes in season. How much intentionality does that take as a coach, as a staff, to continue to evaluate your guys in season while you're preparing for games and everything?
That's top down, right? You got the head man over there. Right now, he's in there with the scout team or the demonstration team. You know what I mean? And then for a lot of times in season, what happens is you get to, time is limited. So you watch film, but you only watch your guy. You watch the ones and twos versus the offense and the scout team. And you're going like this. Well, we there's an emphasis on watching everything in practice, including the scout team, so that way you can see like who that next guy up is going to be and all that stuff. So then that's one where again, T Knight sees it every day in one-on-ones. Then it's validated with Coach Rule over there in the demonstration teams, and then it's us coming together and saying like, hey, look, let's put them on the grass and let's see. And then us all coming together and saying, hey, I think this is the role he needs to be in. We need to play this coverage with it. We need to do this with the other guys so everybody can just go. And sure enough, it was a good package and it worked. So.
Is that comparable to anything you've been part of in your career, where the head coach has been that willing to move guys around in seasons?
No, not during the season like that. No, but you see it now on offense as well. You always have to have that next man up mentality because you never know what situation you're going to be in, right? So same thing with the offensive guys right now. They're moving guys, moving pieces around and finding the great combinations and stuff. And Evan Jenkins, when he had to go into the game, he was repping guard and then for a series, and then he goes over now he's repping center. I don't even know how many reps he had gotten at center, but he goes right in there and plays. Like that's on a different level in terms of being prepared, and coaches always talking about that where, you're preparing to take the grass at any moment, and there's some guys hear it and some guys listen. And, when those guys that listen really get a chance to show it on the grass, like they've been listening, they've been practicing like they're going to play, then that's a pretty neat deal.
Has Isaac Gifford always been a pretty good tackler? Coach Rule said on Saturday that his stop on third down, in his opinion, was one of the bigger plays of the game.
Yeah, that play, when you really break it down, we send an all-out blitz, and they, out of the halftime, that was going to be their adjustment, right? They saw they couldn't block it, so they're going to throw the screen off of it. Giff makes two guys miss. They got blockers all on the hash mark, from the hash mark to the boundary. That's probably going to go for 20, 30, 40 yards, if not a touchdown. And that young man made a hell of a play, probably the play of the game, because he still, not only did he tackle it, he stopped it short of the third down. They punt the ball, you know what I mean? And so we get good field position from it like that. Stuff like that, man, that's fun to watch when guys who are the good guys, who care, who are up here extra, who are OOU guys, who play RDV, he's all in. And when they're in a position to make those plays, and they do, again, it just shows everybody like, bro, like that's some damn big time ball now.
You mentioned Evans Jenkins. You get as good a look at some of those young O linemen going against them. What can you say? You like what you're building in the trenches. What can you say about what's going on over there? As some of those guys are going to be called to action.
No, again, like this is a personal deal. I hear stuff about the offense and everything, and like we are not as good on defense if it wasn't for those guys. Like, period. You know what I mean? Like, I've been on some staffs where they didn't care about preparing the defense, and we had troubles tackling. We had troubles going against heavy personnel. We had trouble stopping the run like that. You know what I mean? Like, so the DNA of the offense and them getting each other ready to play ball. There's a reason why they're running for 200 yards a game, and we're able to play good enough run defense. You know what I mean? It's because of those guys. So we get a chance to see it and go up against them all the time. So, they prepared us. They've sharpened us, and hopefully as we keep on continuing to play well, it's because of them and how good they are in that.
Mo Lineham was one of those guys who's been in this program 3 or 4 years, didn't play a lot of snaps. When did you see he's a veteran guy who could help?
Yeah. You can always see his talent, right? You can always see guys who are long, can fast, run, all that kind of stuff. But he's another one that the more he plays, the more you're seeing the light turn on of what he can really do. And he made a hell of a special teams play. I mean, that punt where he ran down there, pinned them back down there. I mean, that's guys really embracing the process and doing it in practice, and the emphasis of performing in practice so you can perform in the game. And that's a great example, you know. And then again, it's those hidden plays, right? I mean, we talk about him on defense doing some really good things, but I think the biggest play he made was the punt, you know, and tackling them one-on-one and tackling them, getting them backed up and giving us a chance to play defense down there.
Tommy Hill's been a couple weeks getting some snaps at wideout, but what do you think of the consistency he's shown since going back to corner full time? Yeah,
I mean, that's maturity. You know, Tommy's always had skill. You know, now it was the maturity factor catching on. Like, hey, you know, I don't know, I don't care what happened beforehand, but he just needed some hard coaching and some belief in him. You know what I mean? And that goes back to everybody around Coach Rule laying out the picture, Coach Coop really taking him under his wing and showing him like, dude, I know you think you're good, but this is how good you really are. You know what I mean? And developing his game, giving him skill sets where he feels comfortable going out there and without losing him, because he's a passionate guy. He's an emotional guy. You know what I mean? So you don't want to make him into a robot. You want to keep those things that have made him special. You want to keep those things unique, you know what I mean? And just give him a skill set to where he can go and play. And I think that's what's happened. He's matured. He's not as like up and down. He's very even keel. Now he's got guys around him who believe in him. Now he's making some plays, and that's part of the process, right? Guys grow, guys believe, and then they perform.
What's that stat? Does the stat, you guys are giving up 2.55 yards per carry, does that hold any special meaning for you?
No, because it ain't the season ain't over yet. You know, that's fine and it gives us a chance, right? It just gives people a chance to say like, hey, dude, like when we're on point, we can go out there and do it, and we can play with anybody. But until the season is over, until we celebrate however that last game, whatever that may be, and then we turn back and say, hey, these were the numbers, this is where it is, then we'll stop and celebrate. But right now, like this team will come in here and they'll rush for 200 if you ain't acting right. You know what I mean? So we better act right.
Hey, Marquise, is he getting close? I know the final 4 games has kind of been the goal. Like next week at Michigan State, I mean, is he a guy that you could see having a role here?
Yep. Yep.
How do you go about that?
He's talented, man. Like the more you see of him out there, the more he can run. He's twitchy, and he's a vet. Like to me, what I see from Keese is he's a ball guy. Like you get him in the right position and you get him seeing the ball, he's going to intercept the ball. You know, so it's fun to watch him. And his progress to coming back, because now he's starting to take some more reps and get out there and move around a little bit, and he's got fresh legs. Let's be real, man. You know, he's been you know, rehabbing and all that stuff, but he's explosive and naturally he sees the ball. So when a DB can get himself in position and he can see the ball, man, that's you got one there. So it'll be fun to keep on progressing him and then hopefully get him out there and let him run around.
The D-line has played at a really high level, you know, and coming into the season, they didn't have that much experience. How important has Terrence Knighton been for that group and to the defense as a whole?
100%. That's him. You know what I mean? Like we all know Pot Roast, right? We all know him as a player, but you really wish you can see him interacting with those guys in meetings and when they go to dinners and their group chats and just when they're around. You know, I think they all feel like you got a coach there that cares about them, that truly cares about them and wants to be around them but also will coach them and coach them hard, you know, and give them skill sets to make them feel really confident. And so you got a group of guys who believe in their coach. You got a group of guys who believe in the process and being around here and the system and the messages. And they're going out there and they're performing and they're showing it. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things about the chemistry. Like you see those guys rooting for each other. You see them happy to be playing ball, and that's the key to it all. You know, when those guys love being here and they love being around and they love playing for each other and they can just turn it loose and not worry about us jumping them for making mistakes. You know, again, the mistakes are going to happen. X's and O's mistakes are going to happen, but you better play the right way. You know, as I sat up here and said, there's going to be a way you play ball here. And as long as you play the right way, we'll fix the X's and O's. So those guys are having a good time right now.
You talked about Marquise, just that safety spot in general. What you put your finger on what it's been? I mean, there's been position changes, guys kind of moving around that's allowed them to kind of move seamlessly through the season despite all that.
That's Coach Coop, and the cross training early, and again, I think when coaches speak and have messages and stuff, they hear you at first, but until they're proven, right? Until they see, hey, these dudes are for real. Like, we are going to move you around. We are going to throw you in there at different spots and see what you can do and stuff. And then it's like, oh, damn, they are. Malcolm's a corner. Here's Q in that nickel. Like, they see that. So now they're paying attention to everything, because at any point in time, like, hey, practice today, this morning, it's like, hey, guess what? You go here, you go here, you go here. It's like, okay, let's do it. Now they've adopted that mentality. So now you got guys learning concepts instead of trying to memorize positions. You know what I mean? They're understanding how each other fit and all that stuff. So now you just say, hey, somebody's down, you got to go play here. And they're like, okay, let me go play in there. So again, it's a great job on those guys believing in what we're doing.